All right, so we want to begin. Pastor Mike, if you'd be so kind to do the invocation for us. I will note, I hope people did get an opportunity to read the prayer by Boukman. We sent that out because we wanted you to be aware that for all that you've heard about other aspects of the Haitian Revolution, it was a spiritual revolution. And Boukman and the meeting that was held in Wakaima in 1791 laid the foundation for us. So Pastor Mike, if you'd be so kind.
We are here to gather ourselves around this very important moment in the history of certainly the diaspora in Haiti. And so we stand in the gap, we intercede, we offer prayers of both liberation, prayers of strength, prayers of wisdom. Almighty God, creator of heaven and earth, you are the God of all creation. You are the source of which we all draw our strength. We live in a world, sadly, that has been overrun by greed and wickedness. And there are still faithful in the earth that appeal to the graces of our God and certainly the humanity of one another to see the peace and the justice on earth as it is in eternity. And so we ask you, God, to give us strength, give us clarity of thought and vision, inhabit the words that will be spoken. May our hearts be open. May our minds be attentive. May we be overwhelmed with the feelings and the motivations to come along our Haitian beloved, this country of Haiti that has for centuries been a vanguard in what it means to push back against the forces of colonialism. We pray for our friends and family and loved ones there. And we pray for us who live here in this country. May we be a source of healing and redemption and safety and freedom and liberation for our beloved. Bless our time. This is our prayer. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. All right, we're going to admit a couple more here, Reverend Stephen Green. All right, I'm sure others will be joining us. Let me just quickly say that again, we thank all of you who have taken time out of your very, very busy schedules. And it is a Friday evening and it is late. It was always, there was a certain urgency about this call and trying to identify a time when we could get the greatest number. It was difficult. So I made a decision to just say, well, if we did it at the close of day, perhaps people would have enough energy left for a sufficient number of people to move it forward. I am delighted that we have in our number everyone who is on this call are influential people who have the capacity to literally reach dozens, if not scores of people. So that we're recording this, and hopefully what you learn from this will be useful in terms of the overall objective that we're attempting to achieve. And I do think I see Reverend Dr. Pitts has joined us. I said no more and ushered him up. I'm sure he's just waking up from his nap too, so he's had to join us. And of course,
Hey, Dr. Daniel.
And Reverend Pitts is the longtime Secretary General of the Progressive National Baptist Convention. Let me quickly say that the reason why we've called you is obviously Haiti is on fire, as we said. This is a little piece that I penned some time ago. It is on fire. There has been a long-standing crisis in Haiti, but this is one of the most severe, if not the most severe, that I've seen in the 29 years that I've been working in Haiti. And I have been working in Haiti for 29 years. Johnny and Monique, when they come on, will talk about the nature of that crisis. However, even though there's a great crisis, there's also a moment of great opportunity. And I really mean that. And I mean that because in the Montana Accord, this great movement that has been put together, it is the most promising movement I have seen in the 29 years that I've been there. And Johnny, you'll get the details of it. So my enthusiasm and my eagerness is born of is not rooted in the current crisis. There are different difficulties and so forth that are going on. But there is a plan, there is a movement that was developed that is very comprehensive, and a plan and a process that if we are able to align with it, both in terms of impacting US policy and then building out a strong solidarity movement in this country, it is going to succeed. And it is going to be incredibly powerful in terms of the Haitian people finally fulfilling the unfulfilled Haitian revolution. And that means that when Haiti is free, we really are all free. So that is the level of my enthusiasm and where I have invested, time and energy in this process, and wanted to get all of you together in order to hear and to get a briefing. Now, the other thing that's important here is what Johnny just said is Monique Clesca is literally on the phone now. I mean, she's not on the phone now in a symposium or academic exercise. There are things happening right now on the ground that she is involved in. She has emerged as one of the great voices for not only for the Montana Accord movement, but for Haiti in general, in terms of her concept of what she calls re-engineering democracy. She is a bad sister. And we want to keep her in our prayers too, by the way. She is doing this while her godmother, who is her real mother, is in hospice care and is making her transition, actually. So she is still on the front line even as that happens. We're also in constant contact with Congressman Gregory Meeks, and we have been dealing with this issue at the highest level in terms of our interaction with the State Department and other forces around the country. So, and Jocelyn McCalla, who I introduce now, has been on this track and on doing this work as a Haiti expert and human rights activist for many, 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 many years. And the Haitian American Foundation for Democracy has observer status, really, in the negotiations. So again, what Monique is doing right now, she is in the middle of it as things are evolving and developing. These are the people that we're connecting with and that we're connecting you with, so that, people sometimes say, oh, that person's from Jamaica, or that person's from Trinidad. Well, it doesn't really necessarily matter, because you might be Clarence Thomas and a Negro in America too. So it's who you connected to that really makes a difference. And we are connecting you with people who are really on the front lines. So having said that, I want to yield the floor to Jocelyn McCalla to move us forward with a succinct analysis of the current crisis. We could go back, obviously, centuries, but there's a current crisis. And by the way, as my pastor, Pastor Kim, is aware, and others, we have a formation called a Pan-African Unity Dialogue. And we've been dealing with this crisis for Haiti for about 2 years. So this is not something that just popped up. It is something that's been ongoing. It's just when the blood and gore got shown that everybody started to turn their attention to it. So Johnny, you have the floor. You're on mute.
Okay. For some reason, he wanted me to. The technology is trying to get the best of me at this point. Can you all hear me very well? Okay. So first of all, let me thank Dr. D for this introduction. I sincerely hope that Monique Clesca, my colleague, from the Montana Accord, is going to be able to join us, possibly right after I finish my presentation, my introduction of the issues that Haiti is facing. But let me begin by introducing myself to you a little bit more. I am currently the Senior Policy Advisor for the Haitian American Foundation for Democracy, which is an organization founded and based in Miami, but which is sort of a national organization that includes board members from different parts of the United States. Some of our board members are quite prominent in their capacity. I mean, I just will name just one of them, which is who's Patrick Gaspar, who is currently the CEO and president of the Center for American Progress. But he, as you probably are aware of, was strategically involved in ensuring Barack Obama's successful candidacy to power in 2008. So he is fairly involved in the American politics and is a real asset that is part of the Haitian American Foundation for Democracy. Other people include a lot of folks, who are authorities in their own right, but also essentially members of the apparatus of the, who are also helping the Democratic Party in various ways. Before I sort of enlisted by the Haitian American Foundation for Democracy to assist them in this crisis, I led a group called the National Coalition for Haitian Rights, which is how Ron and I began to work together on different aspects. So I have been around for about 40 years campaigning on behalf of Haitian immigrants and asylum seekers and refugees, as well as Haitian democracy in Haiti. We've had some ups and downs, and those campaigns have led me to ups and downs with the past administrations, with various governments, both domestic governments, domestic being the United States government, as well as international governments and states and so forth. So to some extent, I mean, that is sort of a ground that I'm currently comfortable with walking in, and I'm glad that we are talking to each other about what we can do together in terms of the current Haiti crisis. I want to emphasize the following with respect to the current Haiti crisis. It is unfortunate, but Haiti is facing its most destructive period at this point. And I'm going to repeat it again. Haiti is facing its most destructive period at this point. There are rays of hope that we can see on the horizon, and those rays of hopes are to some extent driven by the idea that Haitians have come together and can come together in forging and developing a consensus agenda, a strategy for re-engineering democracy in their country, and essentially re-engineering not only democracy in Haiti, but also re-engineering democracy, the relationship of Haiti to the international community, and particularly the United States. So those are the kind of things that I want you to bear in mind as I begin to sort of describe the situation here. So the first thing I want to tell you is that, frankly, I mean, if you focus on the media coverage of Haiti, I mean, you think that Haiti, just suddenly happened to be going from bad to worse. It has not. It's not a certain aspect. The things have been moving in the right direction in 2008 and 2009 in Haiti, because to some extent, democracy was taking hold. There had been regular elections transition from one president to another was carried out very peacefully. And in 2008 and 2009, there was a lot of hope that things were going to be stable, except for the fact that Haiti faced a couple of major hurricanes. So in 2009, the United Nations, in its wisdom, basically said, okay, we need to bring a lot of support to Haiti at this point, and who could be better than former President Bill Clinton to do it in 2009, because former President Bill Clinton had been instrumental in generating a lot of support for Thailand after the tsunami hit Thailand in 2004 and caused a huge amount of damage to the country. So to some extent, I mean, the United Nations Secretary General at the time, Kofi Annan, basically said, listen, Clinton did miracles in Thailand in 2008. In 2004, he probably can pull off the same miracle in Haiti in 2009 or beyond. Bill Clinton took the job. It was at the time that, and particularly it was thought it was a brilliant idea, given that his spouse at the time was Secretary of State of the United States. So to some extent, there could be a team that would steer U.S. policy towards a goal of really being not an overbearing bad uncle to Haiti, but an overbearing friend to Haiti. Fortunately, Haiti witnessed one of its biggest catastrophes, natural catastrophes, in 2010, which to some extent made it force the question of how the international community was going to respond to Haiti. The people were all over the world responded very well to the need to support Haiti. I mean, billions were raised, millions were raised. People all over the world contributed what they could in order to support Haitians' capacity to rebuild their country. The international community decided that at that point, you needed to have to steer Haiti towards a greater good, and in their wisdom, and with Haiti's compliance, they said, okay, let's figure out a way to make sure that we deliver on the promise. Unfortunately, real politics stepped in, and real politics was, well, we can't, given that the government of Haiti at the time was nearing its end, that we needed to make sure that we ran into national elections as quickly as possible. So what that meant was that focus on rebuilding the country's infrastructure, rebuilding and making sure that Haitians were able to participate in the rebuilding of their country in a meaningful way, was put aside when the international community, in its wisdom, and by the international community, I'm referring primarily to the United States, France, Canada, and Brazil, to some extent, South American countries, basically they said, well, we're going to have elections because we need a legitimate government to work with, beyond 2010, so back in 2011. But that decision in and of itself triggered a rush, what I would call a gold rush to Haiti, by carpetbaggers of all nationalities and sorts, who essentially saw that, one, the international community had promised at least $10 billion worth of support to Haiti. So they looked at the $10 billion worth and say, we want to take a piece of this thing. Two, and they proceeded, and the carpetbaggers, the most successful carpetbaggers, proceeded to convince Clinton and his wife that they were best positioned to do it. Unfortunately, those carpetbaggers were some of the worst folks that Haiti would have produced, in its lifetime. One of which, and the person that I'm primarily referring to is a fellow by the name of Sweet Mickey, was a popular singer and musician whose past was associated with being a cokehead, being a thief, doing just about everything unlawful in order to get ahead. These folks and these people were able to convince the administration at the time, and unfortunately, as some people were very close to the administration, to the Obama administration, would say, unfortunately, the Obamas is essentially turned over Haiti policy to the Clintons, and that was one of huge mistake of the Obama administration. So we had in 2010, at the late 2010 elections that were not democratic, were completely unfair, were completely micromanaged by the international community, and I mean the United States, the United Nations, and the Organization of American States, as well as the Caribbean community. And they basically ushered in Sweet Mickey, Michel Martelly, as the next president of Haiti, who proceeded to lead Haiti in his own way. And lead Haiti in his own way was that this was the time for him and his loyal friends to siphon off a huge amount of money from the Haitian treasury. As a result of his governance from 2011 to 2015, about $3 billion worth of support to Haiti vanished. His successor, he managed to put in through very elections that were really, there's no voter turnout during those elections. I think the statistics were that 15%, there was a 15% voter turnout, and less than that voted for the next president of Haiti, Mr. Jovenel Moïse, in 2016. And so you had a situation in which the people of Haiti did not believe in government anymore, and they walked away from it. And you have the situation in which, in order to repress popular opposition, in order to repress democratic demands from viable Haitian organizations, you had the government continued to exercise repression on the country, on the people, and the government then, beginning with Sweet Mickey, began to use paramilitary gangs. So the paramilitary gangs that have emerged in the recent past have been operating for the last 7 or 8 years in Haiti at this stage. So they're not at their first try, and they've been empowered by being associated with government forces that allow them to expand their power over swaths of Haitian territory, as long as they were loyal to the governments that sustain them. And those are the kind of things that we need to understand. And those are the kind of things that the current transitional government is trying to reverse at this stage. Now, so obviously what we have here is a situation in which most of the news will tell you, well, the gangs forced the government, the Prime Minister of Haiti, to give up power a couple of months ago. No, it was not the gangs that forced the Prime Minister of Haiti to step down from office. It was really the Haitian people through organizations such as the Montana Accord that essentially called for and lobbied for the government to step down, absolutely knowing that to a certain extent part of the problem that they were going to be facing in the long run would be the essentially neutralizing the paramilitary gangs that had arisen, and that's where we are at right now. But the transitional government is doing its best and to sort of survive. Obviously, there are a number of impediments to it being able to survive, one of which has to do with the fact that there has been an erosion in the police capacity to face down these people. So therefore, you have a situation in which external assistance is sorely needed, not with respect to using military force and military power or police force or police power to regain control of the situation. There are a number of challenges that have to take place, one of which has to do with the fact that there needs to be a new head of government who is responsible, democratic, and law-abiding, to be able to generate a lot of confidence in the part of the people of Haiti to move things forward. But not only is duty to generate confidence in the people of Haiti, but it needs also to generate confidence in the international community support. And that to a certain extent is where you come in, with a much better understanding of what the needs are and so forth. So I'm gonna stop right there, and then because I think you may have lots of questions that you and I and perhaps Ron can help answer as well. If Monique, hopefully Monique will join us very soon, but if she doesn't, then obviously I will substitute for her as well.
Well, thank you very much, Johnny. Let me just do some quick. I'm trying to change the view here. Hold on one second. So again, thank you very much for that opening. And I do know that there are questions. We want to get into the questions, but let me just do a little bit of filler as well. And because there are, I've watched this and heard the details and been involved in the details. So in a very succinct way, after a very promising period in and around 2008, where Haiti was really taking off. And let me just say that Reverend Dr. Tyrone Pitts can recall, we actually went to Haiti, some 500 people or more, at the Progressive National Baptist Convention, and the commemoration of the 20th anniversary of the Haitian Revolution. And there was turmoil going on at that time as well. So there, again, crises are not new. But with the earthquake and then the subsequent developments, the key issues are that the international community, rather than be patient about elections, dealt in knee-jerk elections, that elections were more important really than process, so to speak, if you understand what I'm saying. And so the election of Sweet Mickey was a disaster, if you will, because, he was a thief. But beyond that, his successor, similarly, the same kind of thing, elected with 15% of the people. So you have 51% of 15, 51% of 15, which is a joke. I mean, it was totally not legitimate in that regard. And then you had the assassination. That was a real trauma. The assassination of Jovenel Moise, who was the president. That was, even though people were opposed to him, he was ruling by decree. There was no government. People were rising up saying, step down, step down, step down. Then he was assassinated. That was a wound. And then his successor, who should have long since have been gone, we also refused to step down. So the problem became having an illegitimate government rule. But in the interim, what developed was the Montana Accord, where people from across the political spectrum, not just individuals, but organizations from different branches of society, came together to say, we have a plan. And that plan has several parts of it. Number one, we do not want immediate elections. We want elections that matter, that where there's participation. And in order to do that, they had already spent a good deal of time working with the people, eliciting views and perspectives. And again, these are people who weren't always in agreement with each other, but created a united front. And again, over 1,000 organizations and individuals were a part of it. And so their vision was to, yes, have an interim presidential council, but they also wanted to have an opportunity to spend time educating, working with the people of the country, and even having something tantamount to a constitutional convention where the people would come together and forge a concept of what the new Haiti might look like. There are other pieces that needed to be a part of that. Was the whole question of an impartial impartial electoral commission, because you don't need one that's tilting one way or the other, and judicial reform. There were a number of other steps that were involved in it, but this was the broad plan. Now, had the United States government a year and a half ago, embraced that as opposed to hanging on to the illegitimate prime minister, we would not be where we are today, because we would be into a process that the Montana Accord laid out. They refused to do that until pressure mounted and things got so bad that eventually Andre stepped down. And now what you have is the plan being implemented, because the Montana Accord was able to get the overall council of what is now 11 people, 9 people, seven voting and 2 non-voting, to agree. The problem is the Montana Accord is not the majority on that council. And so you have bad actors on that council. And so you have the kind of stuff that Monique is dealing with, no doubt now, are clandestine meetings happening, maneuvers taking place, and it's very difficult for them. At the end of the day, it is, however, a glimmer of hope and a step forward potentially, but it means that we have to get the U.S. government to be aligned behind this process, support it fully, and also invest in it in terms of the plan and the process having an opportunity to, in fact, take hold and bear fruit, even in this very difficult set of circumstances. So I just wanted to fill in that a little bit, because it's a lot to follow, but that is the succinct sort of analysis. And we'll talk more about, again, the reason we're having these meetings are to get people familiar with it, so they be clear about it and whatever. So let's now spend some time in Q&A. I think Reverend Hagler, early on, you had your hand up earlier, did you not? Oh, okay. So let's now have any questions, comments. I don't know whether Robert Nicholas has joined us or not. We had invited him. He is with the AME Church. He's the executive director of the AME Church Service and Development Agency. But he's Haitian as well, and is familiar with what's on the ground. We had a good meeting with him the other day, and he was sharing his concerns, because right now the people, what barbecue and all these, everybody knows barbecue. All these gangs have done, they're terrorizing the people. It's rape, it's sexual assault, it's murders, and it is extortion. It is all hell has broke loose on the ground, and the people are desperately in search of peace and stability and an ability to just survive, number one. and then to then move beyond that to a level of some kind of normalcy again. So let's stop now and take whatever questions people have or observations or that people might want to have at this point. Anyone?
I would like to know, I know it's probably a long conversation, but a bit more about the Montana Accord. And where was that developed? Was that developed in Haiti or in America? You know, could you tell us a bit more
Johnny,
about what it is?
yeah, Johnny can do. Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure. The Montana Accord derives its name from the fact that hundreds of organizations and people came together on sometime on August, I think in August of 2021, to formally sign an accord at the Montana Hotel in Port-au-Prince, Haiti. So that is why the short term is the Montana Accord. But most importantly is the fact that it was a wide-ranging acceptance of a process that would begin about 2 years earlier, when people of goodwill basically said that we need to make sure that the people of Haiti are essentially driving this the new Haiti at this stage, and that we need to go through a process in which we collect information. We have lots and lots of discussion around the country about what Haiti needs, and we need to develop a sort of an agreement that people can embrace and sign on to. So you had hundreds of organizations, as I said, thousands of individuals who basically made the trip to Port-au-Prince and at the Montana Hotel when they called on people to sign on to the accord, and they came up with the accord. So it spells out a few things, one of which has to do, to some extent, with the idea that you need to have a collective, you need to take into account the collective will of the people when you're setting up a government in Haiti. To some extent, this has been realized. If Monique was there, and she will very proudly tell you that essentially the agreement that has been reached by all the political parties that have come together in the wake of the resignation of the Prime Minister Henry, that these organizations are essentially embrace the Montana Accord and all the steps that were spelled out by the Montana Accord. And these steps include convening a constitutional assembly, so that once again Haitians have the opportunity to look at their constitution and essentially reform it, amend it, or look at it, or perhaps bless it again. A national dialogue about Haiti's future and what Haiti's future should be. The question of how you deal with security going forward in order to make sure that peace and tranquility are the primary reasons why Haitians would want to stay in Haiti rather than flee Haiti at this stage, because a lot of people are fleeing Haiti, and so forth. So there's a lot of things in the Montana Accord that have been embraced by the current transitional government, whose lifetime is limited by their promise that by January of 2025, that they would give up power because they would have essentially set in motion a electoral process that Haitians could be proud of after having all these discussions in a few months, and that hopefully Haitians would have chosen wisely people who could lead them to the new promised land.
Hmm. And that's about it, but that's a 22-month process for an election as opposed to a 3 months or 2 months. I mean, some quickie kind of process. let me just say that what we will do is there is a summary of the Montana Accord, and we will make sure that all of you have a copy of it. It's not that long. It's not a very long document. I see Stephen Green, you have the floor.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Dr. Daniels, for hosting us. I just have a quick question around the sort of imminent Kenyan threat of the Kenyan military that is supposed to be touching ground as of next week, as early as next week. Is this something that the Haitian people are welcoming? Because we know that anytime that military use supported by the U.S. military industrial complex comes with its own sort of sensibilities and traumas and harassment. So just wanted to know how people on the ground were interpreting the Kenyan National Guard, the Kenyan police coming to Haiti to quote unquote restore order.
Well, I think the truth is that the Haitian people are very weary because Haitians are extremely proud of the fact that they became independent more than 200 years ago, and that they fought against some of the more powerful colonial countries, colonial armies in the world. But the fact is that what they're facing now, particularly in Port-au-Prince and increasingly around the country, is the fact that you have paramilitary gangs that have adopted a scorched earth theory, the scorched earth practice, which is burn down the houses, kill people, behead them, and make sure that they cannot go back to having a peaceful life. That's what they're facing. And when they're facing that, they're basically saying, listen, we need assistance because our police forces have been depleted, they're diminished, they don't have the capacity to do that. So we welcome the people who are going to help us doing that. That doesn't mean that they are going to sort of bend down and say, yes, sir, you're all welcome and we will bend to your will. But it means that they're looking for a situation in which the police forces that are going to be deployed from Kenya, from Jamaica, from Barbados, from different countries around the world are going to be respectful of Haitian independence, Haitian I'm looking for the word. I mean, it's not authority, but Haitian guidance at any point in time, so that they are not going to be imposing their own will on the Haitian milieu.
Yeah, Reverend Hagler.
Yeah, I wanted to raise the question about the gangs, the so-called gangs, because it seems to me that if there's any movement forward, somehow they got to either be brought into the discussion or neutralized. So I don't know what plans or conceptions people have about that.
If I may, I mean, I just have to say that there's a very real recognition on the part of Haitians, including those who are currently in power, that to some extent that a lot of the people who are involved in gangs that are being either forced to be doing the bidding of the gang leaders, or that they have nothing else, no other solution to their issues. So to a certain extent, when we've seen it in different places around the world, when people who have had absolutely no power are providing are given a weapon in which they feel that they have a power. So I think there's a distinction between gang leaders, who are bloodthirsty and essentially leading a destructive process and the membership of those gangs, which you're going to have to do lots of things to bring them in, and including disarmament, including providing them with an alternative so that they can become productive members of Haitian society. A lot of these people are not educated. They've had a hard life and so forth, and to a certain extent, that those are the kind of challenges that the transitional government and the governments afterwards will have to deal with. But with respect to the gang leaders themselves, as far as I'm concerned, they're nothing but criminals who can speak a good game, but frankly, are nowhere near the kind of revolutionary that we've seen in the past in Africa and elsewhere.
I'm going to quickly just emphasize a couple of points because, and I'm glad the question about the Kenyan force, MSS as it's called, was raised, because this is a key and understandable ideological point that people are concerned about. The whole question of invasion, of taking Haiti over, and those kind of things, and foreign forces. And so I've watched and listened as this evolved, because quite frankly, there's a tension between that ideological view and the kind of hell people are catching on the ground, which is unfortunate, because in that situation, people are willing to accept almost anything. They just want peace and tranquility. We could be opposed to the invasion from the comfort of East Elmhurst, New York, in terms of it's not happening to me. But the Montana Accord position has been not that they were opposed to assistance. They want the assistance to respect the sovereignty of Haiti and for it to be under the guidance of Haiti. Now, in reality, that is in some ways more ideological than real to some extent as well, because there is no way that there's not going to be some influence by the U.S. government and the core, so-called core group. But that is how they've articulated it very strongly. And it's the first mandate, by the way, is to, the commission itself, all of the negotiations, almost none of them, in fact, I don't know, Johnny, correct me, none of them were in person, because the negotiators could not leave their spaces. Right. And so exactly. The first mandate is
just like what we're doing right now. They did it by Zoom.
By Zoom. And so they have to secure the airport. They want to secure the government building. They want to secure so that things can begin to function, at least hold off the gangs in certain spaces in the interim until a functioning government can begin to receive aid and whatever. The other position is Reverend Hagler, and certainly this position I've taken for even before this catastrophe unfolded, is that the United States government owes Haiti big time anyway. And we need to have almost, and Lionel Jean-Baptiste, a dear friend of ours out of Chicago, I forget what he calls it, he has a plan. But we need to be pushing for almost a Marshall Plan-like level of support for Haiti. But it has to be done differently. It has to be done under the control of the Haitian people. This was one of the great mistakes of the previous stuff. People were coming in telling Haitians what to do, and it was ridiculous. Some of the stuff that happened, because these young people, they're young. Many of the young people don't have jobs. A Jobs Corps program, a jobs to deal with entrepreneurial development, all of that could be helpful. And this is one of the ways of incentivizing the gangs to put down their guns and play a different kind of role. Inevitably, well, I don't want to say inevitably, there may be some who refuse to be so incentivized, and then those are the ones who will have to unfortunately face a more harsh reality in terms of standing down, because you do need to begin to develop a climate of security in the country. But I think that is a real prospect, and I think again it behooves us, because I'm of the opinion that we do have the ability to impact and influence U.S. policy. And some of the meetings we've had so far have been fairly receptive in that regard. This election is going to make a big difference because if it's the orange man who gets elected, we're talking about a whole nother scenario. But there is an ability here to impact and influence this current government in terms of these issues that are being articulated. So I just wanted to address both of those issues and by the way, correct me if I'm wrong, Johnny, there's also in the Montana Accord process a reconciliation process, a truth and
Right.
reconciliation.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's a whole process of trying to reconcile
Yes.
and to make sure that the youth that were led astray by the gang leaders brought home in a way that makes them productive and so forth. And frankly, we've had a lot of reports of the young people willing and desiring to get away from this as quickly as possible. But they haven't been able to do that because to some extent, they live in the neighborhood that are controlled by these warlords.
Right. The other thing we have to say is the arms are coming from the United States, and the loose gun laws in this country not only are continue to contribute to mass murders and gun violence, particularly in our community, but then we see the more sensationalized ones, and all of them are terrible. But a lot of them are coming right out of Miami and places where they go to these open gun shows, and they can buy anything they want to buy. I mean, in whatever quantities they want to buy. And again, as Johnny has mentioned, what happened, and these gangs soon decided, well, why should we be working for these political folk when we can go on our own? And they're trafficking in drugs and all that, so they have the ability to have resources to go buy up whatever weaponry, and in some instances have stronger and more powerful weaponry than the ill-equipped National Police Force. Okay, any other questions? I know as the time is late, I don't want to hold us too long. We said we would be quick, but I don't want to not entertain whatever questions are, because the idea is to equip people with the information they need. And by the way, a part of what we're doing with the Haiti Support Project is we've had various meetings, one at Busboys and Poets that we had. We had another one with Rainbow Push, we just had a meeting in East Elmhurst, New York. We're taking the Montana Accord people around the country to hold these kinds of briefings, forums, and rallies to educate African Americans and Haitian Americans, because there are some Haitians who are not fully conversant with what's going on either in the diaspora. And the diaspora is critical to Haiti's development in the same way that the diaspora is critical to almost all of the developing countries because of remittances and commitments and those kind of things. So that's the role that we've been playing, and one of the things that we've been doing is appealing for support to do that, because we don't have a grant or anything to do that, and it's costly to be able to do it, but it's essential that kind of educational process take place all around the country. And I want to thank my pastor, Reverend Kimberly Detherage at St. Mark AME Church, and Reverend Patrick Young from First Baptist is not on the line, but they recently had a forum and a rally here in our neighborhood to help in that regard. Reverend Hagler.
Yeah, I just want to say that in general, I'm supportive of what I hear, but I got to have a longer dialogue, because some of the stuff that I'm hearing in reference to the gangs tend to be, from my perspective, and I might be totally wrong, a paternalistic description. And I think an ignoring of some of the realities are playing out.
Well, again, that's why we have this opportunity to have that conversation in terms of it. I happen to feel that there needs to be a back channel to these forces in any event. But it's good to hear again what people on the ground are saying and how they feel about it, because again, it's one thing for me to feel one way, it's another thing for the people on the ground who are suffering, and who in some instances, by the way, have actually, and this is their danger, have blocked off their neighborhoods, and in some instances have conducted extrajudicial executions of some of these gangs. Yeah, so we don't want that either. That's not a good thing to have that become the part of the culture that is occurring.
I'd be
Can
happy
can you
to
say a
follow up
quick
with you.
word about
Hold on, I want Reverend Hagler to finish. Go ahead. Or something.
can you say a quick word about the involvement of Haitian immigrant groups like the Haitian Bridge or Baji, or are they plugged into this, or does that need to be a part of this outreach? I do see a lot of younger kind of immigrant rights groups kind of organizing and hosting briefings on this, and I am wondering, are they aware of the Montana Accords? Are they aware of all these things that are happening? Or are they kind of moving either apart from this kind of knowledge base or in counter to, particularly the question about the foreign military forces that are that are being welcomed in to help restore some form of structure around law and order, et cetera. Just curious about how much of this is being discussed outside of this immediate circle with some of these other groups. Is that a part of the outreach that needs to happen?
Well, that has been part of the outreach that has happened. But the Haitian American Foundation for Democracy has had a sort of a very long-standing effort trying to develop what it called a Haiti Diaspora Council, which includes groups such as the Haitian Bridge, Baji being a non-Haitian group is not involved in this, but a lot of the Haitian organizations, such as the Family Action Network in Florida, the Haitian Bridge, and so forth, that have been part of the process in which the Haitian community, the Haitian diaspora, is developing its own vast network, so that it can be much more impactful with respect to U.S. policy. And when U.S. policy has to do with Haitian refugees and immigrants, trying to seek refuge in the United States and or maintain a refugee status in the United States, or people who are looking at focusing primarily on bringing democracy to Haiti. And so you have so to a certain extent, that all of that is a mix. I mean, I am constantly in touch with Gerlin Joseph, who and who considers me to be a sort of an old hand at this, because of what I've said earlier, which was that I've waged campaigns on behalf of Haitian immigrants and refugees as executive director of the National Coalition for Haitian Rights in the past. And the National Coalition for Haitian Rights, by the way, was founded in 1982 by both Haitian leaders, Haitian community leaders, and civil rights leaders. So when it was founded in 1982, when the vice chair of the coalition was none other than Bayard Rustin, who you probably, obviously, this is the name that is familiar to all of you, but it included most of the civil rights organizations at the time, the National Urban League, the NAACP, the Southern Leadership Conference, and as well as Haitian Community Organization and Haitian Leadership Organization. So to some extent, we are building on the past in order to reach out and making sure that we have a vast coalition of people who are dedicated, to seeing from their perspective that that U.S. policy, both domestic and international policy, aligns with the idea that Haitians and Haiti deserve to be have their day in the sun.
Let me quickly say that I think that a number of organizations, both African Americans, Haitian Americans in general, it correctly had an immediate response to any notion of the Kenyans, to anybody coming into Haiti, as being imperialistic and so forth and so on, and correctly so, because that's been the history, that's been the experience. I think over time, people have, have come to perhaps see it differently, though not necessarily so, because they may or may not be in touch with people on the ground and the sort of the heart of what's transpiring and what's taking place. What I've observed in the different meetings that we've had, even with Haitian elected officials, we did the piece of Busboys and Poets. Many of them were not as familiar with the Montana Accord as I would have hoped they would have been, but that's why we have this educational process. And not only that, there are going to be some people, I must say, the person shall remain nameless. I reached out because I have fairly good relationships and history of working with Haitians. There was someone up here who I supported and for a position in the legislature, very dynamic and so forth. And I was reaching out to say, well, we willing to host something and so forth. Got kind of an interesting response, only to find out she was supporting Henri. Her husband is a lobbyist for the person that people were trying to get out. So there will be some people who are aligned with, with Sweet Mickey and some of therefore. So we'd be naive to think that all of the Haitians are in the same place and in the same position. Some of them will have different perspectives. Our task is to at least present people with the plan, with the ideas of the Montana Accord, and to educate as many people about it. Optimistic that once people hear it, they will sign on and they will be. I'll give you another example. There's some people that I happen to know, and Reverend Sharpton got involved, and of course, Reverend Sharpton has spoken out on these issues. There were a circle of people who went to Reverend Sharpton and asked them to do something, and they got ready to call a press conference. They said they wanted to stop the gun violence and whatever, and then they were getting ready to talk about immediate elections. And we said, whoa. We don't want a replication of immediate election. We want something different. So we had to go to Reverend Sharpton and others and say, wait a minute, let's talk this through. Let's be in alignment here, because in our effort to be helpful, we actually may be introducing some of the same old ideas, or whatever they call it. Insanity is the same, repeating the same thing over and over again. So that's the challenge that we're facing in terms of moving forward. And I'll take this occasion to sort of close out by saying that again, the reason we've come to faith leaders, first of all, this is how Ron Daniels operates. I've done this all my life in terms of the organizing I've done. I've always had relationships, strong relationships with faith organizations and with faith leaders. I can recall the Progressive National Baptist Convention after the earthquake. We went to the Progressive National Baptist Convention, and they supported the work that we were doing in Haiti, wholeheartedly and strongly. I don't know, over $100,000 if I recall correctly. The NAACP did likewise. So we developed that kind of relationship. But that's a part of how I have conducted my work. And so what we're looking at some point really is continuing to educate people, with faith leaders and civil rights leaders being at the forefront around the Montana Accord, to build out a very strong movement in this country around that. We were potentially looking at, and we have to sort of go back and assess and evaluate, because again, we don't have a lot of resources to do the kind of work that we're looking to do. We're trying to go to some foundations and so forth to get some support, so that we're able to have some organizers and people to do the administrative and organizing work that we need. But we had looked potentially at seeing whether or not we could do something in August. August is a very historic month in Haitian history, because on August the 14th in 1791 is when Boukman prayed that prayer at Wakaima that helped to launch the Haitian Revolution. That first phase didn't go so well initially, but it was wave after wave that ultimately culminated in 1804. And so we thought in terms of potentially asking faith leaders whether or not a part of their services on August the 11th might be devoted to an educational piece around Haiti and the first Black Republic. And quite frankly, there's a lot of work to be done around that, because this relationship between Haitian Americans and African Americans is a rich history. Just the other day, my work is a tale of two cities, like Youngstown, Ohio, Steel City, and also Pittsburgh. And I take great pride in being in August Wilson's Pittsburgh, right, Hill District. And just the other day, my board chair, Bobby W., sent me a note that I had not been aware of, and that is in the Hill District, And they went back, and at its beginning, when Black people moved into the Hill District, it was called Little Haiti. I mean, I was shocked to find that out. In Raleigh-Durham, there's a whole section, a prosperous section that was called Haiti. So there's this richer, and in the AME church, I forget the leader now, who actually took literally hundreds of people to Haiti to resettle. T. Thomas Fortune, I think, is maybe the person that I'm referring to. So there's this rich history between African Americans and Haitian Americans that we need to talk more about, the NAACP and the role that it played and whatever. So we need to build that out and educate people around Haiti, but also because Haiti is potentially a formidable power in the Caribbean and on the world scene once it becomes liberated from all of the machinations and all the stuff that has occurred over these years. So again, we thank you. There's a form I think that's been put in the chat for people to give. I think we may have everybody here's email address. If not, please do that. We appreciate the fact that many of you did share the information around, and we are willing to continue to have briefings of this kind, a cluster of 10 or 15 or 20 or whatever. Johnny has been willing to follow and to keep continuing to go through these meetings. I keep pushing and pushing and pushing. And again, Monique Clesca would have been here. She is on the monitoring bureau of the Montana Accord, and she has done incredible work. And I think Reverend Hagler and I think you, Reverend Pitts, both were at the briefing that we conducted on Capitol Hill, and you saw the power that she brings in terms of who she is and what she represents. So we thank you all for joining us and for this briefing. Very, very important. And we look forward to looking at what the next steps can be, and we're open to recommendations. We're open to suggestions. So you can, if you leave, you can drop it in the chat, or you can email me or email us and say we think A, B, or C or whatever. And we certainly want to be responsive in whatever ways we can. So having said that, I'm going to ask my pastor, Reverend Kimberly Detherage, whether or not she would do the benediction.
Thank you, Dr. Daniels. Let us pray. Most gracious, loving, eternal God, creator of heaven and earth, the God of justice and righteousness, we thank you this evening for the debriefing of the crisis in Haiti, all the discussion, what we have learned and what we have yet to learn and know as we come together in solidarity for the political, social, and economic freedom of Haiti. And dear Lord God, as I was reminded that tomorrow, May 18th, is the Haitian Flag Day, let us be reminded of the struggle for freedom, independence, and resilience in the midst of adversity that the flag represents even today, and the symbol of Haiti as the first Black republic that we can all understand the importance of. Let us, as a people of African descent and as faith leaders, stand with Haiti. Be with us as we depart this meeting. Guide and strengthen us as we mobilize to support the Haitian people to re-energize the democracy and for free and fair elections. Now may the grace of God, the peace and love of God be with us now and forevermore. And may we all have a good night. Amen.
Amen and Ashe.
Amen.
Thank you so much.
Amen.
Really appreciate it.